Hey all, in this video I'm going to discuss the Ethereum smart contracts available on the Xooa platform. This is the Xooa console with its various available features. Since the focus of this session is smart contracts, I'll select the smart contracts card. Once you log into the Xooa console, you can deploy unlimited smart contracts from various sources like private or public GitHub repositories, as well as from a local directory. This can be done on multiple networks, including Hyperledger Fabric and Ethereum. To get more details on the smart contracts feature, let's select About and access the Xooa docs. Here are the Xooa docs. In order to deploy your own smart contract, you can either give Xooa the location of your GitHub account repository with your smart contract, or you can use the smart contract available in your local directory. The easiest method for this is to fork the Xooa GitHub repository that we provide with the necessary files. The link is provided right here on the center of the page. Now, without further ado, let's dive into this brief. To deploy the Smart Contracts app, select Smart Contracts in the Xooa console and click on Deploy New. You'll need to select Public, Private, Local Upload, or Xooa GitHub, depending on how you want to provide the code. Then click on Next. From Smart Contract, select the smart contract you want to deploy, the network you want to deploy on, the language of your smart contract, and then click Deploy. This will deploy the smart contract for you. Following this, we have the Identities menu. From here, you can create new identities. Using the proper permissions, you can create identities with read and write permissions or read-only permissions. As soon as you create a new identity, an API token will be generated. That API token will be required for making the API calls on the smart contract. Following this, we have the section on how to write to the blockchain ledger. To write to the ledger, there is a function named set. This allows you to invoke functions directly from the API documentation. For this, you must remember that you will need the API token that you copied earlier. To fetch a value from the ledger, there's also a function named get that you can use. So following this section, we have the section on how to read from the blockchain. For this, you can simply go to the ledger and select transactions. You can click on the transaction ID to get additional details about the transaction. To see more details on smart contracts, click on Console. On this page, you can scroll down to the smart contract section to find smart contract details. These details will be accessible when the app is deployed, and these details provide information about your app that include ID, name, description, README, branch, deployed version, blockchain network, and the smart contract language. Next, we have the world state. The world state provides access to the state database of the custom smart contract. It allows you to search the state database using key or value, and it allows you to check the history of values for the associated key of world state. We now have the smart contract transaction section. This section permits you to browse the history of transactions and to search and filter the transactions by key, value, transaction ID, and date range. Following this, we address Smart Contract API. From here, you can get the API endpoints required for calling functions in the smart contract. Monitoring allows you to see the history of API calls that have been made to the app, filtered by the date specified. Smart contract activities provides a history of activity related to the app, like redeploying the app, identity-related actions, and upgrades. Up next, we have identities. An identity is someone with an API token and a given set of permissions to access the APIs for the app. From the Identities tab, you can perform actions such as add, view, delete, and update identities. You can also regenerate an API key for an identity. Penultimately, we have smart contract logs. From this, you can view the smart contract logs of the last 10 minutes. Last but not least, we have smart contract manage. You can delete or upgrade your app from this section. Now that we're done with this brief, let's check out the Xooa console and deploy our first app. In the dashboard, select the Deploy button at the bottom right on the Smart Contracts card. Select Deploy your first app. Under Networks, select Ethereum. Under Source, you can select either private GitHub, public GitHub, or the Xooa GitHub. I'm going to select the public GitHub for this example, and I'll type in my desired repository. Press select, and I'll input the required details under repository branch and select test Ethereum smart contract. Here's the app name, and the description is directly below. The network will be public Xooa net Ethereum. Now select deploy. As the app is deploying, copy the generated API token and click to explore APIs. Now that we're in the API Explorer tab, paste the token in this upper left-hand field. From this page, we can invoke functions for Ethereum smart contracts. Returning to the details page, we can see in this green box up here that the app has been deployed successfully. Now that the app is deployed, return to the API Explorer. Under the Invoke Smart Contract function page, we can write directly to the blockchain ledger. I'll be referring to the samples provided by Xooa for this example. If you would like to learn more details about appending the ledger, read through this page. Otherwise, if we scroll down to the parameters section, located here, we can input the set function and click on try. Here we have the transaction ID because the API was successful. Next, we have the query smart contract function. From this API endpoint, we can fetch the key values that we have stored in the ledger. If we scroll down to the parameters section, we can input the get function in this field. And the argument in this field is arg1. Then select try. Here you can see that the payload fetched was arg2. On the API Explorer page, you can also use other endpoints that are available to you, like those under identities. You can create identities, delete them, and regenerate API tokens among other endpoints. Returning to the Xooa console, select identities. On this page, you can create new identities. Let's name this one Identity 1 and give it read-only access. Consequently, this identity cannot be used to write into the blockchain ledger. Returning to the API Explorer, paste this new token into this field in the upper left-hand corner. If we invoke the smart contract and press try here, we receive a forbidden error. This is because this identity does not have proper permission. In the details section, you will get a description of the app like ID, name, description, README, ledger, branch, deployed version, blockchain ledger, and smart contract language. You can check the ledger by clicking on this button here. All transactions performed will be accounted for on this screen. You can also look at tokens and internal transactions. If we go to the activities menu, you will get the details whenever a new identity is created, when the app is deployed, and when the app is upgraded. From the manage page, you can upgrade or delete the app. Let's look at how upgrading the app works. Currently, the app version we have deployed on Ethereum is version 1.0.0. So let's upgrade it. The app is now being upgraded. As you can see here, the app has been upgraded successfully. If we scroll down, we can see that the app version is now 1.1.0. I've now shown you how to deploy smart contracts using this method, but there's also another means of doing so. Select your profile in the top right and click on Deployment Token. Deployment APIs are used to deploy, update, delete, and list smart contracts. For this, you'll need to create a token and give it a label. So select Add Token at the bottom left here. And as a label, I'll give my token the name Deployment Token. Select Create, and now the token has been generated, so I'll copy it. And note that deployment tokens are only used for deploying the smart contract. You cannot invoke the smart contract using this API token. For this, you would need the identities API token. So select Explore APIs. We're now in the Deployment API Explorer. Paste your token in this field, then click on Apps. From the Get All Apps endpoint, select Try. From this, you can get the details from all the apps that have been deployed with this token. From the Create App endpoint, located here, you can create a new app. I'll use the name Ethereum SC using deployment token and type it into this field. I'll use this description for it as well. Use Ethereum Solidity as the language. Ethereum, of course, as the network. I'll choose the proper smart contract file. You'll need to post the file name in the file name field located here. This is the name of my smart contract. Now select Try. Here we have the result ID. Copy this and go to the result section. Paste the result ID in this field, and then we will click Try. This will return the result that we have previously submitted from the API Explorer section. This says the app has been deployed. We can cross-check it by going to the Xooa console. Select the smart contract card, and you'll see the app that we deployed with the deployment token. Returning to the Explorer tab, you can see that many of the same functions from the console are available here, including Delete App and Upgrade App. You will need to paste the ID, select the file, and select try. Here you'll see the result ID, which if we return to the Fetch Result tab, can be pasted in this field. From the result, we can see that the app version has been changed to 1.1.0. So this has been a demonstration of how to deploy Ethereum smart contracts on the Xooa platform. If we click on the Manage tab, we can delete the app and it'll be like nothing ever happened. So that's it from our side. Thank you so much for listening and have a fantastic day.